Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome if you're new. Thank you for taking time out of your day to check the video out. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover today. We're starting with a bunch of new information and previews for Death Stranding 2 on the beach. I've been waiting for this. I think a lot of you have been waiting for this as well. But before we get into the previews, they did announce a Death Stranding 2 on the beach limited edition DualSense, where pre-orders for this DualSense are going to begin on May 22nd, and it's going to launch alongside the game on June 26th. And so when it comes to the pricing of this controller, it's going to be $85 US. So again, it's going to be limited edition. So if it's something you're interested in, definitely get your pre-order in. But yeah, I do think it looks pretty good. It's very subtle, I think. It's not over the top, but let me know if this is a controller you're going to end up trying to get your hands on. But we're going to move over and talk about the previews. Now, what's kind of crazy about the preview cycle for Death Stranding 2 is that content creators who went to Japan to go hands-on with it were able to play it for like a week straight and put about 30 hours into the game, which is nuts. I don't think I've ever seen a preview cycle like this where content creators were able to play the game for 30 hours. And a lot of people are feeling like, whoa, like, did you beat the game? And apparently, according to Okami13, he says the first 30 hours of Death Stranding 2 correspond to roughly 40% of the entire game. And it looks like DS2 will be significantly longer than the first game. So yeah, that is kind of crazy. But I have a write-up here from Push Square. The title reads, Roundup, Death Stranding 2 PS5 previews describe a Metal Gear glow-up for the Kojima sequel. Kojima Productions recently invited a handful of games writers to Tokyo to play Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and reading through the impressions, this sounds like a real glow-up for the fledgling franchise. The game takes place in both Mexico and Australia, with the chiral network protagonist Sam helped create in the original game now taken over by the automated porter assistant system. Effectively, the character's job has been replaced by AI. Some big features of the new environments include a greater emphasis on weather, with rain leading to floods and heavy winds blowing you off course. You'll need to use fresh technology to help with your delivery missions, with everything from your backpack to vehicles being customizable. Many websites like Eurogamer.net are describing this as a Metal Gear Solid to Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty style upgrade. The foundations that were established in the first game have been dramatically expanded upon here. Combat sounds like it's been completely redesigned, and it's channeling Kojima's past tactical espionage action adventures in all the right ways. Gunplay against both humans and the nightmarish BT monsters is much more rewarding, and there are greater opportunities for stealth and new approaches. It sounds like there are even camps to clear out in the open world, much like Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain. And the element of online connectivity remains. Once again, you'll need to use your resources to install infrastructure around the world, which will earn you social media style likes from other players. This time, in addition to ladders and bridges, you'll be able to create entire monorail systems and more. But central to the game is the question, should we have connected? One other detail worth mentioning is that the previews were played on the base PS5 console in performance mode. We haven't read or seen any criticism of the performance, so it sounds like this is going to be a rock-solid 60 FPS experience, and presumably one that looks and plays even better on the PS5 Pro. Now, we do have a lot more details we're going to be going over here, but before we do that, I wanted to kind of give this brief overview that was provided by Push Square, because yeah, the sentiment here seems to essentially be that there is way more you can do in Death Stranding 2. You have way more options at your disposal. They are saying that it's a major step up in terms of just the refinement compared to the first game, similar to what we saw from MGS1 to MGS2. And I'm not surprised to hear this, because I did talk extensively about how Death Stranding 1 was made very rapidly. It was made in a short period of time, and for as awesome as it was, in my opinion, there were definitely areas where you could see, maybe there's more that can be done here. There's more refinement. There are certain things that can, I think, be built up even more so, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. I'm not surprised Kojima took even longer with Death Stranding 2, because I'm sure there was much more he wanted to do. But now I'm going to refer once again to Okami13, where he breaks down a bunch of new information about Death Stranding 2 on the beach. So, based on the hands-on previews, apparently it's set 11 months after the first game. Sam ends up having to go from Mexico to Australia. There's a faster paced story and gameplay, more freedom and choice, a wide variety of equipment and structures that are available early on. More structures will unlock as you play. Natural hazards like earthquakes, wildfires, and floods occur. A new leveling system. Instead of 1 porter rank, there are 12 proficiency levels. For example, using firearms improves your firearm proficiency. Walking through harsh terrain improves rough terrain proficiency, etc. There's also a new automated porter assistant system enhancement, or APAS system. By consuming memories acquired during the game, you can enhance your different APAS traits: porter, combat, stealth, and servicemanship. The number of memories you can pick up are limited, so it's up to you to decide which traits you want to acquire and upgrade. Stunning graphics and wildlife with different biomes, an outstanding soundtrack, plenty of vehicles including motorcycles and trucks unlocked early on. For combat, there are stun guns, firearms, smoke bombs, and more. Newly implemented day-night cycle. It's harder for enemies to spot you at night. New enemies and weapon types. A new BT type, Watchers, which can detect SAM through sight instead of hearing. Also, several new human enemy types, including the armed survivalists who use lethal firearms. Death Stranding 2 on the beach is still Death Stranding at its core. Your objective remains the same: deliver cargo, connect people to the chiral network, and deal with everything in between. Previewers got to play the first 30 hours of game over the course of 4 days, and again, it's releasing exclusively on PS5 on June 26th. So, want to give a shout out to Okami13 for doing a really good job kind of compiling this. And yeah, it sounds like Death Stranding 2 on the beach is going to be everything that I hoped it would be, which is just a much more fleshed out and ultimately better realized version of Death Stranding, because there are certain qualities in Death Stranding that I think are genuinely unique. And if you play that game from start to finish, you experience things that, like, wow, okay, yeah, I've never really experienced this in a video game before. But as I said earlier, there are also many things where you can't help but kind of feel like, I feel like there's more that can be done here. I feel like we're just scratching the surface. And so, as somebody who really thoroughly enjoyed the first Death Stranding, I put over 100 hours into it. I got the platinum. This sounds great. I mean, it sounds like this game's going to be massive. I still find it hard to believe that previewers played 30 hours and they're only like 40% of the way done. I mean, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be incredible, man. And, Kojima did let us know that as soon as Death Stranding 2 wrapped up development, he was going to move on to making what I presume will be a PlayStation 6 title, Fizzant, right? So for those who may have forgotten, he did announce back in January of 2024 that as soon as Death Stranding 2 is done, he's going to begin work in earnest on Fizzant, which is going to be his return to his roots. And it sounds, from what, the way that they described it, it sounds like it's going to be the spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid. But from what we're hearing with these previews, a lot of people are saying that many of the new things that Kojima decided to implement into Death Stranding 2 evoke many of the things we've played in previous Metal Gear Solid games. And, you have some previewers basically saying that the encampments feel like they're right out of Metal Gear Solid: The Phantom Pain. And so, yeah, man, I just can't help but express my excitement. I've been anticipating these previews. I was eagerly awaiting what people were going to have to say and, what's going to be different about Death Stranding 2 compared to the first one, what type of improvements were made. And it really sounds like there's a lot here. I feel like Death Stranding 2, I mean, maybe I could be wrong here. We're going to find out come June 26th. I feel like Death Stranding 2 is going to be a fully realized version of this game. I think that when you look at DS1, it didn't win everybody over, and I don't know that this is going to win everybody over. It does say that at its core, it's still a Death Stranding game, but I think that whatever shortcomings were there for DS1, this game is going to just erase them entirely, and there's going to be a lot more going on, and it's ultimately going to make it, I think, feel like just a much more well-rounded game, a much more well-rounded experience. Now, again, I know that makes it sound like DS1 wasn't that, but it's just, I feel like most people who completed DS1 just walked away with this feeling like, man, for as incredible as that was, you could tell there's still a lot more that can be done. Like there's just certain things that, can't wait to see what they do next. But guys, that's going to do it for the video. I wanted to be sure to take some time to cover the Death Stranding 2 hands-on previews. And yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see what you have to say. Are you somebody who was already excited for Death Stranding 2 and you're even more excited now? Are you somebody who wasn't sold on Death Stranding 2, but after hearing these previews, maybe your mind has changed? Or after all this, are you still just going to end up passing on Death Stranding 2 because it's just simply not your cup of tea? Let me know down in the comments below. Leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon and feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.